The band had already released their fourth single, Hey Girl, which, although a Marriott and Lane composition, followed in the pop tradition of Sha-La-La-La-Lee. However, the group's next single was to firmly establish them as much more than simply a pop group.
After Sha-La-La-Lee, there was no way that they were going to do another Sha-La-La-La-Lee. So they had to come up with something which would take them to where they wanted to be, but also satisfy the record company and the management, and that song was All or Nothing, which is basically a Steve Marriott song. All or Nothing's it's a fantastic leap forward because it actually gives the Small Faces their own sound and their own style, and it uses a lot of techniques which they would utilise later on. The stopping and the starting, the use of backing vocals, which was obviously an R&B influenced technique. Starting off a song with just a guitar melody and then taking it here and taking it into places you wouldn't expect it to go.
All or Nothing is a classic example of less is more. Using a simple D shape, Marriott just builds up the melody of the song even, just with picking through the song. It's very simple, it's 2 chords.
Work out just like I want them to, yeah. If I could have the other half of you.
It shows Steve's writing talent to its best. His vocal is fantastic on it. The band are really playing beautifully, I think, together on it. It's just a fantastic hit single, and it's still a fantastic hit single today. I mean, it actually stands the test of time.
All or Nothing was the one. It was their first #1. It was the record that really launched them. It was written by the band, so it helped establish them as a songwriting force as well. I think after that, it was going to be very hard for Don Arden to foist Kenny Lynch on them again. So it's really the one that opened the doors, and you listen to it today and it still sounds absolutely fantastic.
All or Nothing must be, I guess, everybody's favourite Small Faces track, in the sense that it's a perfect performance. There's no kind of... nobody cuts any corners on it. It's not a compromise in any way. It's their heart and soul really goes into that. And Steve Marriott sings so committed. His voice is his vocal performance is so committed to the lyric, and it really is all or nothing.
All or Nothing became the Small Faces' biggest hit, reaching #1 in the charts. Despite their success, the band's relationship with their manager, Don Arden, was getting progressively more hostile.
Because the thing you have to remember is that groups at those times, they put a single out every 3 months. You had to put a single out. you know. And by singles, you lived or died. You know, if you were, the higher you were in the singles charts, that's where your status in the pop world was. You know, that's why the Beatles were the #1 group, because they always had #1s, and the Stones sort of were behind them. So, you know, there was this constant pressure to come up with hit single, hit single, hit single. And because the Small Faces were busy touring, or if they weren't busy touring, they were down Carnaby Street kicking themselves out, you know. The pressure on them to deliver music was quite intense, and they kind of, because they'd written stuff like All or Nothing, I think they felt they wanted to take it at their own pace. You know, they wanted to direct their own music. They didn't want people going, you know, hit single, hit single. So, so the relationship with Arden was severed. You know, I mean, it just created a barrier between him and the band, which was never going to be healed. You know, that was it. So, so the Small Faces left Decca and Arden, and after a sort of little bit of a roundabout, they ended up with Andrew Loog Oldham's immediate label, which was a great place for them to go, because Loog Oldham was not old school. Don Arden was old school. Don Arden was, you do this, you do that. Whereas Andrew Loog Oldham was, here boys, here's a studio. If you make a record, great. If you don't, you don't. You know, he was very laissez-faire like that, Oldham.